Dare the monsoon with the Honda WRV. With offers up to 57,000 rupees this November. Visit your nearest Honda car showroom today.
Hi, hello, and welcome to Cinema Express. My name is Venkat Srikar. Today we have with us cinematographer Swapnil S Sonawane to talk about his work. He has a great body of work that includes films like Newton, AK versus AK, Sacred Games, and more recently he had two releases. One was Cello Show, and the other is Monica Ume Darling, the super thrilling and funny Monica Ume Darling. So thrilled to have you, Swapnil. How are you?
Good. I'm glad to be here.
Super. So, how do you think your experience with photography or the documentaries that you made early on in your career are helping you now with feature narratives?
That's a good question. Yeah, I think it has. I mean, I still go out and shoot, or I still carry a camera everywhere, every day.
Wow. Okay.
I always have a camera out here. I mean, the reason to say this is because it has given me almost everything that I know and do. At least the kind of photography or cinematography that I do is based in some kind of reality in my head, at least. Maybe that's not the case with the narrative or whatever. I need to base it in some kind of reality. I need to know where the light is coming from. So for that to happen, I have to put myself in situations where there are different kinds of lights, and there are what an early morning feels in Himachal versus what it would feel in Tamil Nadu. To translate that, one also needs to experience it, right? So in that manner, I still do it. I still take pictures. I still shoot a fair bit on film when I process some bit of black and white. I get a lot of it processed as well. But it, yeah, in my cinematography life, I think it kind of takes a lot from what I do in my regular day-to-day photography.
Wow. I found something that you said quite interesting, that you said that you had to know the place to know where the light is coming from. And your two recent films, Cello Show and Monica Ume Darling, they make a lot of their settings. Like Cello Show, for instance, where it is set in that village in Gujarat, in Saurashtra, it makes use of that landscape beautifully. And Monica Ume Darling, obviously Pune. There is something with Pune when it comes on screen. I don't know whether it's you. You should be the one telling me how much of it, how much of it, how much of the colors are exaggerated in both the films.
Uh, in last film show, there's no exaggeration here. Like when he runs back to his house and he's running through the fields, and you see clouds till the end, like a Murakami film, it was there. Yeah,
Wow.
and so, like with films like Last One Show or Newton, where we had tiny crews, or Newton didn't have like a really tiny crew, but it had some limitations that I had put on myself about not taking any cinema lights with me because we were shooting in the jungle and wanted to.
Right, right.
So,
Yeah.
and again, coming back to this whole documentary uh, uh, style shooting that I had already done a bit. I mean, what the whole thing, like this docu-style shooting does for you is basically, it keeps you on your toes when you're shooting, right? Put into a situation, and which is not in your control. You have real people, not actors. You have people going in places where it might just be really bright and sunny at one point, or interiors and dark at one point. So you're on your toes and dealing with those situations all the time. So one kind of tries to understand how these situations work and what is the best you can do out of it cinematically. So I carried that into Newton, thinking if I with the help, obviously, with the help of the my first AD on it and my camera team and everyone, if I can schedule the film in a certain way that I can make it feel like the entire day's transition that happens, like morning felt like morning and afternoon felt like afternoon, while evening by the end of the film felt a certain way. So, and it was all scheduling. We didn't really light it in the cinema lighting sense. I mean, we scheduled it in a certain way, shot certain scenes at a certain time, at a certain place, and to get that feeling. It's in a much like smaller crew. Like last film show had one gaffer, three light boys with me. So it was a tiny crew. And
what's the usual number?
my usual Bombay number is maybe like 20 light boys or 25 light boys. And that's just the light. That's just the light boys. Then there's the grips team, and then there's your camera team, camera attendants. So it becomes like a bulk of the entire. But so yeah, that was for last film show, which kind of and hence the landscape and the place kind of lends itself to the image. When it came to, actually, we didn't shoot. Maybe we shot for like some B-roll stuff we did for one day in Pune. Otherwise, everything was shot in. For Monica, my darling, was shot in Vashi.
Okay. I feel extremely cheated now. Okay, that's fine.
No, but this was just because we were coming out of the second wave, and permissions of shoot. We really, Vasan offered me the film. I'm from Pune. I'm in Pune right now. Vasan offered me the film, saying, "Arey Pune mein hi hai yaar,"
Yeah.
And I suddenly started dreaming. Okay, I'm gonna be home. I'm gonna eat my home cooked meal and stay at my home and then travel from here to work, which I've never done. So I was really excited about it, but obviously it didn't happen that way. Pandemic kind of reset, put a reset button on everything. So we had to shoot in Bombay, and Vasan, in his true master sense, kind of. I was very iffy, about not even shooting one day in Pune. How will we kind of make it feel like Pune and everything? He's like, "Ho jayega re." And he has a sense of what he'll get from a certain place. That, and the fact that it was monsoons during which we shot, just like it was perfect
Yeah.
for Noah. And we kind of made sure that we carried that forward everywhere. Like even where I had an opportunity to say put like a light through a window, I would make sure that it was just soft and not like a hard patch of light. So even we kind of ran with the same feeling, this constant feeling, it's just overcast outside and there is no sun. So like the environment gave it to us, and then we were lucky that we were shooting during the monsoons. So even our broad day outdoor shots kind of feel drab and they feel a bit gray. So, but like I mean, even sorry.
No, go on.
No, you're talking about color grading and enhancing colors over the book. Like last film show was grounded very much in what was what we saw on the monitor at 709, like a basic LUT is what I mean. And like of course a lot of figuring out whether everything is balanced and all of that. I had a really great colorist from Paris, who kind of Kevin, who graded the film, and so which was perfect for last film show. For Monica, we knew that we could push it. We could push it to a look. I usually try and stay away from a certain look for a film. I make sure that I'm happy when I'm on the set, with the image that I'm seeing on the set. And if that's the case, then I don't usually stay away too far from it during grade. which was the case with Balaido. Balaido was like we made it a bit more filmic during the grade, but like it wasn't. It was the idea there was to keep the image so simple and for the camera work so-called to be so removed and far away that you don't really notice and see it at all. Like that's where I would really wanted to kind of blend in with everything else that was there as well. Versus Monica, which was like a murder mystery, and where we could push it, where we could do silhouettes, and you didn't really have to see people's faces, or where I could really go dark and all that. So we pushed it, and I think we had a great time doing that as well.
Okay. Wow. I have three questions from your response. First one would be, you spoke about limitations, right? You spoke about limitations that you had on last film show or in your career, technical, those limitations. In your career, what can you name a couple of great things that emerged out of these limitations?
I think only great things come out. So I don't. So limitations is probably, for me at least, is not the right way to put it. I mean, everyone has limitations tomorrow. Like you take any film, no matter how big the budget is, even then the vision of your director is usually larger than
The resources
budget.
at hand.
And that's true for everyone. And no matter how big the film is. So you can't call them. I mean, I wouldn't call them limitations, but like a certain boundary that's set for you in terms of what do you call it? In terms of a budget, kind of lends into finding ways to deal with a certain problem, and I enjoy that. I enjoy finding solutions.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm asking. The creative ways you come up with.
Yeah. So I mean, all of them, like my Angry Indian Goddesses, and a lot of it is not just budget. A lot of it is also what I kind of tell myself, like in new on a new project, I kind of limit myself to certain ways of doing things for the film. Like during Angry Indian Goddesses, my relationship with Nalan had just started with a documentary, right? So we wanted to, like he wanted to bring that feel to a feature film where we had actors. I mean, the idea being he got so much drama out of real people during the documentary. He actually wanted to try a similar shooting style, but with actors, and where the first a lot of Angry Indian Goddesses is also. Wow, I'm getting a call from Nalan right now.
Wow. You want to take it? Wow.
No.
Wonderful.
Let me just take this. He's calling
Please,
from
please,
the
please.
US.
Please. I'll pause my recording.
5 minutes later.
Yeah, so I mean, my relationship with Nalan sir started on a documentary, and which is what he kind of wanted to kind of take forward in this feature that he wanted to do with these 7 women who he didn't really give them or me a script. He had a lot of it written down for himself, but he kind of dispersed that information to each character independently without them knowing about each other. So something like that. The character kind of knew about themselves, but the other actors didn't know about, a lot of the backstory. So it kind of it was revealed to them as we were shooting.
Wow.
So in a situation like that, the first take becomes like the most important take. The first take becomes like that's where the magic is happening. That's where the other actors are discovering things about a certain character. To not limit my actors on set, like one so-called limitation that I had put on myself was to not have stands on set. To not have cutter stands, no lights, no tripods, nothing. So almost the entire film was handled. If I had to light a space, it always had to be through windows and from outside. And it helped, it helped tell the story in a certain way. So yeah, I mean those sort of things, like similar thing with Newton, where I had done like a very small Marathi film with a very close friend of mine, Nipun, and which was with a lot of kids. We had some 10, 12 kids, and I don't know how much it really works for the actor, the viewer, but maybe it works in a much more subconscious way. That the thing that we did for Dhappa, which was this Marathi film with a lot of kids, is that every time we see kids, the camera is on my shoulder, and at their level. It was never at their eye level. So it was never
looking down on them.
Looking down at them. It was always at their level. And every time the kids were with a grown-up person, it would go on sticks and dolly and everything, and it would flow over, with some kind of restriction. So I don't know how much it really translates into the film, but it was at least some grammar. It helps build some kind of grammar into the film. So yeah, I don't take them as limitations. I think you can make the most of anything that's thrown at you. You kind of figure a way to use it, because you're building the story in your own head, right? There's no right way to do it. There's no correct lighting, for a certain situation. Like you can have the most, like a character do the most heinous thing in the world, but in like the most poppy space, in the brightest colors and everything, or have like one light in a dark room, which you can put somewhere down here and make him look like it. So both ways are correct, So there's you find a way with whatever limitations that you have.
Perfect. Do you belong to the school of cinematography that believes that every frame has to reflect the film's theme in some way? Because say if you take a film like Monica, Oh My Darling, where every character has their own secrets, has their own gray shade. When you go for a still out or when you go for a backlighting, especially there are a lot of shots where we don't see Giant's face clearly because the lighting is behind him. So in that sense, one can thematically correlate that lighting to Giant's headspace being confused or Giant being dark or gray. It happens in some frames, but not in every frame. So are you somebody who believes that every frame has to reflect a bit of the story?
I mean, every frame has to say something. It has to say something about where the character wants to go, or where the director wants to take the story. So it can't just be a frame for the frame's sake. It can't be the character standing here and you just put them in your frame wherever, or you don't just do something because it looks cool or the composition looks great and all of that. Like it has to somehow reflect what's happening on paper, or what's happening, or where the director wants to take the story. So, I mean, you work on every frame, absolutely, but I tend to not really hold on to that
Notion.
Yeah, I don't really hold on to that notion that, I mean, I have to work on each and every frame and toil over it and everything. I think if you imbibe what the script is and try and understand where the director wants to take it, it kind of flows. These sort of things kind of happen if you pay attention on set, if you're open to listening. Yeah, I mean, cinematographer's, I think, first job is to keep his ears open more than just eyes. You kind of keep your ears open to what your director is saying, what is the script trying to say, what are the actors saying, where is it that the production designer is taking it. So you keep your eyes and ears open to all of these things, and especially ears open, and not just get into this tunnel vision of being the image maker on set and I don't care about anything else. A lot of things happen in sound, and it's probably the best tool that a cinematographer can use,
Right.
to not do something in front of camera to not put everything in the frame. Like you make a frame, and you like in Monica, even though we've not shot in Pune, you imagine a Pune that one was, which is not in the frame, right? So which is what like Kunal, who's done the sound for the film, has kind of brought in. There's something that happens that one, and that's what movies are, right? It's not just the frame. You imagine so much about the characters and everything. So yeah, to keep your ears open, I feel, is very important. But anyway, so, yeah.
You had a blast making Monica, Oh My Darling, right? Like it's visible in every frame that you people are having so much fun making it. Be it with the use, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we had a great time, and not just like with what we were shooting, even on set of the film, we had started flipping bottles on set, and me and Vasan, and that just drove us to madness. And I actually, I was thinking that if the film doesn't do well and people don't like it, everybody's gonna be like, because these idiots on set just kept on flipping bottles, they didn't do any work, So I'm glad. And I think there's so many people who are loving it, so, which is great.
Yeah. So I'm reading a book by Sidney Lumet called Making Movies, and I'm learning a lot about cinematography from it and how he approached cinematography. So one thing he says about so-called style is that we have always misinterpreted this word called style in films. We began to associate glitter and glamour with style. So if something like even I can confuse something like Monica, Oh My Darling to be a more stylish film than Newton. But Newton, but style doesn't actually mean lights or the flashiness. Newton itself, it has its own style. Like using natural lighting is its own style. So in that sense, what is the style that you wanted to create with not a style, the look that you were just speaking? What is the style or the look that you were trying to create for Monica, Oh My Darling and Cello Show?
Well, Cello Show, we would have been the happiest to shoot it on celluloid. Like, it was the perfect subject to shoot on 35 film. We just couldn't figure logistics around it. Like now, we shot Cello Show in 2018, just before the pandemic. I had finished the grade. So, so for that, we were very clear that we wanted to make it as cinematic. Cinematic is a very vague word that gets, but as filmic is a very vague word.
Literally filmic in the sense, because the image, when the corners of the image that's not focused on, they look distorted. Like
that's
look
but that's not the
purposefully.
like so like the other. I mean, the sad part about where film is, the way film is interpreted now, is that all these wanted to not be, which is it. Like, so the last film stock was the Vision 3 one was so. I mean, they wanted to keep the grain so low and keep the image so clean and crisp and everything. So the film was actually really trying hard to be what digital is today, like crisp and sharp and everything. Versus what is interpreted as film now is all the fuck ups that it has. Like it had it had like dust, and the edges kind of or when it was projected there was some kind of jitter, so that is interpreted at times as what film is,
Right.
to be really clean, versus this became so clean and clinical that we started going back towards film and to find that middle ground where it kind of had both. So
I think No, I mean David Fincher's Mank. It was shot on digital, but it was shot in 8K. But they went back and to give that grainy look, they had to they had to apply effects to make it look like film. The grains or the cigarette.
Yeah, no, but if you see Mank, which is again a great example with, I mean, Fincher is the perfect example who kind of took digital so, I mean, he embraced it like nobody else, right? And he took that image and made it just fucking beautiful in everything.
Yeah.
Like from Social Network, if you see Social Network was shot on whatever Red One, and it feels a today's image stuff. It's amazing how him and Cronenberg, who's the cinematographer, they just were amazing at what they did with that. With Mank, the great example is that uh, he, even though he made it look like film, it wasn't like the fucked up film. It was what film truly felt like, must have felt. Like, see, I mean, it's all an interpretation only. Like, even though we've seen film being like, I have seen film being shot and projected and everything, but I mean, it's still an idea of film in our heads, right? We don't really, it hasn't, we've never really experienced it to a level where we can see it next to each other. So it's all an interpretation. But like with Fincher, I'm sure he's shot so much on film and knows it with his DP. They know film so well that they were, they, they, they walked that very thin line where it wasn't like filmic for the sake of being filmic, but truly to create that time and space. And it was amazing.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Because of,
Absolutely.
and they've shot on a monochrome sensor, so a sensor that can't see light, which
Right.
means, which is what a black and white film is. So a monochrome sensor with with some of the landscapes were shot with infrared filter on with the black and white. It's magic. I really love
Do
it.
you have cinematography heroes?
Of course, there are so many. I mean, I am standing on the shoulders of some of the most amazing people that have also come out of and all over the world. I mean, what the internet actually opened up for me was access, right? Access to all these amazing films and cinematographers, and them sharing what they do and how they do it has really taught me a lot. And I kind of, I'm a sucker for, not so much just to see behind the scenes and how something was lit, but why somebody arrived there. Why is it that they took the decision of shooting at a certain time of the day versus a certain time of the day? And like the most amazing part about the internet is today, anybody can just do a Google search and try and find these things, and they're available. Like the most amazing part about Deacons is the way he shares everything.
Exactly, the podcast. Yeah.
And not just the podcast. Before the podcast, for the past 10, 15 odd years, he has a website which is like more like a forum where you can ask him questions and he'll reply with his lighting plans and everything.
Wow.
Does that mean that the next guy can just shoot like Deacons? Obviously not, because Deacons is Deacons. Like, because like he shoots the way he shoots because who he is. And that's why, which is like a very important lesson for all of us cinematographers, that you try and find your own image, how you like. That's what somebody should call you for. Like somebody should call me for what I can deliver, and not for so that I can deliver an image like something else. And that is, and I mean, I really enjoy being on set. And if I'm on the set trying to fulfill a dream which is not mine, then it's just boring, right? Like it's just a waste of time for me. And and hence this whole style quotient for a cinematographer is also a bit of a trap. I only shoot handheld, or I only shoot dolly, or I only shoot anamorphics, or I only shoot spherical or something. Like the story should kind of lend
Shows
itself.
itself.
So
Wow.
I don't know what we were talking about. I don't know where it is going, but
Cinematography heroes.
yeah. So yeah, like there's Ashok Mehta, of course, who I really
Yeah.
so I mean his work has been absolutely inspirational. Rajiv, so what he does, Rajiv Menon,
Yeah.
has been as a kid. I remember watching things that Santosh Shivan would shoot. It used to be,
Wow.
and like
Yeah.
for no reason, a kid in Pune knew who Santosh Shivan was, like a cameraman was, which
Yeah.
is transcends through what cinema means to a regular child, right? So there's him, and there's Siddharth Diwan, who's recently been doing some amazing work. There's Anand Bansal, who's been doing amazing work. There's Linesh, who used to work with me earlier. He's doing some beautiful work. His way of seeing things is amazing. There's Sunil, who's another who's just shot a feature film, an entire feature film on 16mm, and it looks beautiful. This is a boy who's not come from any film school. He's not gone to any film school to get any formal education. It's just true grit that gets you something like that. So
What's his full name?
Sunil Borkar.
Sunil Borkar. Okay.
Sunil Borkar has just shot and finished Ram Reddy's second feature. Ram Reddy, his first film was Tithi.
Right. The Kannada film Tithi. Right. Got it. Yeah.
So I can't wait to see that. I've not seen the film. I've seen just some stills from the film, and I'm so excited for it. So there's so many really amazing cinematographers coming up. Right?
Wonderful.
Everything is open. You can choose to shoot a certain scene on a phone, on a feature film, for a certain effect that you want to create. At the same time, the same film can have like a 35mm negative, and everything in between. In last film show, and like the beauty of digital. On last film show, when the kids are going like when they're in the train and they
close the. I wanted to ask you about that scene. I had a question about that scene. Beautiful scene. Yeah.
So that I don't think it's only because I had a digital camera at my we were shooting on an Alexa that we could do it. It's basically they create a pinhole camera, right? In
that,
and I knew we could do that real time. So it's not been projected, nothing. We truly put down the shutters, put a kala kapda on the other side, made a tiny hole in it for the light to come through, and the entire landscape that was outside running kind of just came in, and it was amazing. We were inside a camera, seeing the image that the camera was making, shooting it with a digital camera. So it's and that in a lot of ways in my head it actually becomes like the purest image, right? There's no filter, and you see the landscape kind of run by. You see the colors in the sky and the clouds and the green of the field and everything,
and so, it's in movement also. So it's moving.
Yeah. So that day was just super exciting.
Wow. And one great thing I liked about Cello Show is it had certain images that we don't often see in cinema. For instance, Samay seeing the world, seeing the place while traveling on train through that green color bottle, and the way you place your camera like a filter. These are things that we see in real life. Like we often do that. If we do that, it's it looks fascinating, but these are images that we don't see in cinema. And likewise, in Chelosha, there is a great shot where two kids see Samay and his friend who pretend to be riding a bike. They see them through a cardboard and it generates that scope like screen. Tell me about these choices. Like, how did you guys come up with them? With the one question, first part of the question, and second part of question: does mainstream cinema offer a cinematographer to put out their personal experiences like this in on the big screen?
I mean, talking about those two things first, one is the bot. I mean, as you said, yeah, all of us have done that in one way or the other, experienced it. So that was like I have tried, I have done that with my phone or my what do you call it, with my DSLR or something, by putting just like a dirty piece of glass in front, and I'm like, the intent back then was to make images which felt more like paintings, more like oil painting in a more specific manner, without really doing anything on Photoshop, like truly have that image form as you're shooting it. So when Samay kind of is exploring the world through that glass, it felt very natural to me. To I'm sure you, and I'm sure it comes from Nalin's experiences of doing the same thing. So that was in our heads. We were just like, we shot so much, we shot so much of that through different bodies and different this thing. Well, a lot of it kind of falls on the editing floor, but like a lot of kind of nice things kind of come through, and you're hoping for that. But you're also hoping that, not hoping that, you're making sure that you're having fun shooting it as well. So we had a great time shooting that. I think last film show in general, we had most of the films that I've been a part of have been like a great experience to be on set as well. The second one, where you see those three girls seeing the kid through, that was all Nalin. I think he's done that as a kid, to impress the girls from his. He's. I'm sure he's done that. And once you know what that thing is, and it just looks amazing, and you have these sweet boys doing it, and the girls watching it, and everything, you figure a way to shoot it. And figuring a way to shoot something is okay. Like the intent, if once you have the intent, becomes an exercise. I mean, it's great to figure that out. That's logistics, Like this shot would cut to this shot, and this is how from that we come here. Suddenly, and you see from cutting from the motorcycle to this little kid, which is there with a handle. So Nalin has really kind of gotten these different things. Like he made sure that we had the handle, found the right handle that he kind of was interested in, the right box, got the kids to run around and all of that. So yeah. I mean, it was great fun to create. I've seen audience laugh so much and love that scene so much. We clapped when we saw it, the first time when we saw it.
Understandable, yeah. And the second part of the question: does the mainstream cinema offer you the space to put out these personal experiences?
I don't know what mainstream cinema is. Like everything that I have been a part of has been like a lot of it. You can call it mainstream, but like the intent was to kind of put it in a slot of with something being mainstream or not. Now, even during Sacred Games, while working with Vikram, it wasn't about us putting out like whatever India's first Netflix show or whatever. Or the fact that it was being done for TV or anything. We went like, Vikram's intent was to make his next movie, almost, So anything that was correct for that, we did, So
okay.
So yeah, I wouldn't think that mainstream kind of I wouldn't call it restricts, like it's so much about where the director wants to take it. I can suggest, but that's all I can do. Actually, finally take that call. That call needs to be taken by the director, So, and I'm like, I want that call to be taken by the director, because in a lot of sense, I come on board quite late in the process of making the film. The director has lived with the story for years, maybe, and seen a certain image being formed for that particular film or the sequence or anything. And I can't be the person who just walks in and says the light will come in from here and that's where the person will sit. Or, I see it this way and this way only. It can't be that. It needs the beauty of cinema in general is that it's a creative yet collaborative art form.
Right.
It's not singular. A photographer can be a singular artist. A painter can be one. But cinema is like so many people coming together, right? So it has to have
it's expensive. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, and the logistics and expenses apart, it's the image that so many people trying to come together to find this image that the director had seen. And hopefully the director's hired you not to just translate what's in his head, but also wants something out of you. And if that's the case, then you try and offer as much as possible and let the director still pick and choose and not feel bad about what was not taken.
Right.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Of course, there are opportunities to do wonderful things in no matter what situation you are in. Even if you're shooting like a commercial for a soap, there's something interesting that you can offer.
That's nice to know. I want to ask you about my favorite sequence from Monica, Oh My Darling. This is one of my final questions. I want to know what went into the making of the whole sequence where Jayant is pushed off the terrace and what happens for the next 4 minutes as Farsh Pe Kade plays out in the background. We see Jayant, struggling to stay there. That's one of the best pieces of filmmaking I've seen in recent times. Like everything comes. You remember the message I dropped you that everything comes together to make this film a great experience. I think, and that sequence it encapsulates the essence of the film, that what you were going for. It's nerve wracking. It's tense, but it's also very funny. You can't wait, you're laughing at it, but you're also biting your nails. So what went into the making of that? I'm sure that uh, how did you guys do it? Was that a real uh, building, or was it green screen? How did you
The building was real. What you see from the ground level or the Radhika's police car, right? Whatever you see from that point of view, looking up and coming down, all of that is real. The building is real. We put a stunt guy up there in the with a crane and everything, with all the safety. He actually climbed down that certain way. Like, having said that, the true feeling that you're talking about comes through edit, right? I think it's a really great piece of editing that one kind of sees in there. Which was we had a great editor called Atanu. Atanu is also a director in his own right. So him and Vasan, I think, crafted that scene on the edit table so well, because there were multiple things that we had shot in multiple places. Everything that you see Raj in up close was shot obviously on a green screen on a studio, which was later kind of pasted onto or in the edit used with everything that we had shot in live location. So, and the fact that it's again like an overcast sort of a day really helped.
Yeah, you see the clouds. We see those black clouds. We see,
yeah. I think multiple things came together for that one sequence to make it feel the way it felt. Yeah, I think a really, really good piece of edit is what you see in there. Because Vasan was very sure that he wanted to shoot like everything that we shot at the eye level of that car, with going up and coming down and looking this way, and the guy is not, the police guy is not there now, he's gone there to get kulfi, and we kind of track back from there and we see that the piece of paper is now on this thing, and then we in between all of this we kind of go up and come down. All of that was actually a single take. We shot it as a single take because because there was a guy hanging up there with all the safety and everything. Vasan really wanted to finish that scene very fast and not do it like in cuts and somebody's hanging there and we shoot something down here and all that. So that entire sequence is actually like a single take, which was cut with what we shot with Raj on a studio. Yeah, edit, beautiful edit, and great music. I think made that scene just flow.
The whole sequence was just beautiful. What are some of your favorite bits from Monica or My Darling that you personally were very impressed with?
I think all of it. Yeah, we had such a great time making it. So there's no. I think during the grade, I got really excited about the fact that when Gaurav kind of is talking about what he did in that flashback after beating up Jayant and dragging him to the robot, when he's talking about it, we cut to the flashback, and so initially the thought was to just make it black and white. Okay. And then I felt that we were missing the red. Every time it blinked red, we were missing the red. So then me and Sid, who's the colorist on the film, like I think between, like, and I'm just diverting a bit, but Sid is an artist within himself. He has a certain point of view of seeing things in a certain way, and I'm so happy to collaborate with him. The first thing we created together was Newton, after which we worked together again on AK versus AK, then on Badhai though, then on this thing. So there is a certain thing that even we know about each other's taste. So again, coming back to while we were grading it, Gaurav's flashback, somehow we just wanted to make it black and white. And then once we made it black and white, I started missing the red in it. And then we thought, okay, let's just, every time it becomes red, we just cut back to color. And the moment the red goes away, it just becomes black and white. So when we cracked it and it did flow pretty well, I thought that was pretty cool. Then I was a bit nervous about showing it to Vasan. Nervous in the sense I was hoping that he would like it. Because at times it might just feel too much. I wouldn't do something like that in any other film, but Monica was the perfect film to try these things. Vasan saw it and he loved it and he was like, okay, let's go with this. So I thought, which was discovered more on the grading stage than what we had thought of.
I also found it interesting that when Jayant discovers that Gaurav is the murderer, you got to Gaurav's close-up and we see green color. And because usually red is something we associate with criminals and negativity, but once it's revealed, you go with green. I felt that was also it was like a tiny subversion of sorts. Did that happen intentionally, or did it just happen?
I mean, I looked at it as the color of envy, but I mean, it also like the space had these stacks of what do you call it? Yeah? Not CPUs.
Servers.
Servers, yeah. There was a massive stack of servers, and which had green lights blinking.
It's a practical.
So, and then I kind of took that as my cue and just enhanced it a bit for it to feel more green than what it should have been.
I like that. This is more of a logical choice, driven by logic that you have this. So I'm making the most of it.
Yeah, so I pushed it a bit further. It's easy. See, I mean, things do come into logic. Does come into play. Like I could easily just tape out the greens if I didn't want to.
Yeah.
The fact was, it was there, and I thought that okay, like maybe there's something interesting happening here, and maybe I should use it. Okay, can I shoot it the way it is? No. Okay, now I'll find a way to embrace the green and light it in a certain way where it feels as if the entire room has a green glow. but still coming from the same space. It doesn't come from here suddenly. It doesn't.
Yeah.
It's not the correct light, but it does still say the same.
Super. What's happening? What's happening, Swapnil? What's next?
There's a very interesting project right now. One that I've already shot that I'm really excited about. Actually, after Monica, there's a film that my partner directed. It was her first film, and we produced it ourselves, and I've shot it in black and white and Himachal. So I can't wait to get down to really grading it and everything. So that is something that I'm really looking forward to. There was another project that recently happened, which I can't really talk about, but and the next feature film also is really interesting, and we yet to lock everything per se, but like interesting things only here. After actually we finished shooting the black and white film, it's called Second Chance. Post which, for the first time in all these years, I kind of took a break from long format per se, like feature films in general, to kind of just take it easy.
Thank you very much for your time and all the insights that you have shared. I really had a wonderful time talking to you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ram. Thank you so much. This was great, and I'm so sorry we had to push this twice before we actually landed. But
no, I'm so glad that you pushed it, because it kind of helped me watch Cello Show yesterday. Otherwise, I wouldn't have gotten to talk to you about Cello Show. I watched it yesterday, so I'm glad you pushed it. See, I think it just helps. The universe just helps you. Yeah. Thank you very much, Swapnil. Take care.
Thank you, Ram. Take care.